You fast at the right times. You skip dinner. You even tolerate hunger day after day. And yet, your belly fat is still there, almost unchanged. That is the moment doubt creeps in. Is your body broken? Is fasting just another overhyped trend? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people fast correctly on the outside, but completely wrong on the inside. Your insulin never truly goes quiet. Your liver never really gets a break. And your belly fat, especially visceral fat, never receives a clear signal to leave. Fasting is not just about not eating. It is about what happens hormonally while you are not eating. And this is where things quietly go wrong. There are 5 very common mistakes that silently block fat burning, even when everything looks right on paper. Mistakes so subtle that most people never realize they are sabotaging themselves. If you have ever wondered why you are doing fasting correctly, but your belly refuses to shrink, this is the truth your body has been trying to tell you. For many people, fasting feels like the final solution. You remove snacks, you shorten your eating window. You tell yourself that if insulin drops, fat must burn. And on paper, that logic makes sense. Yet in real life, especially after the age of 40, the body often refuses to cooperate. The scale barely moves. The belly stays soft, energy fluctuates, sleep becomes lighter. Hunger feels strangely aggressive in the evening. This is where frustration begins. You are not overeating. You are not undisciplined. You are not doing it wrong in the obvious way. The real problem is that fasting is often treated like a switch. Eat or don't eat, on or off. But your metabolism does not work like a light switch. It works like a negotiation between hormones, organs, and survival instincts that were shaped long before modern diets existed. After years of late dinners, constant sugar exposure, stress, and poor sleep, your body learns one thing very well: protect stored energy, especially around the abdomen, especially visceral fat. So when you start fasting, your body does not immediately think, great, let's burn fat. It thinks, something has changed. Stay alert. Insulin may still spike earlier than you realize. Your liver may still be busy processing yesterday's damage. Your brain may still interpret hunger as a threat, not a signal. This is why 2 people can follow the same fasting schedule and see completely different results. One sees their belly slowly shrink, the other sees nothing happen and eventually quits. The difference is not willpower, it is biology. In this video, the focus is not on fasting schedules, apps, or discipline tricks. The focus is on what quietly sabotages fat burning, even when fasting looks correct from the outside. You are about to see 5 very common mistakes that keep insulin elevated, block access to stored fat, and confuse the body's internal timing. Mistakes that are rarely discussed, yet extremely common among people who believe they are already doing everything right. Once you understand these mechanisms, fasting stops feeling like a fight, and your body finally starts listening. To understand why belly fat does not burn despite fasting, you need to look beyond the clock and into what is happening hormonally, hour by hour. When you stop eating, the body does not immediately switch to fat burning. It first checks one thing. Is insulin truly low and stable, or just temporarily quiet? For many people, insulin remains elevated far longer than expected. Not because they ate recently, but because insulin resistance has trained the body to release insulin more aggressively than necessary. This is especially common after the age of 40. Think of insulin as a security guard. As long as insulin is present, fat cells remain locked, no access allowed. Now imagine this scenario. You finish your last meal at 7 p.m. By midnight, you believe you are fasting. But inside your body, insulin is still circulating because the meal was large, carbohydrate-heavy, or combined with alcohol. The liver is still processing incoming energy. Glycogen stores are still being refilled. From the body's perspective, fasting has not really begun. Around 6 to 8 hours later, something else happens. Glycogen in the liver starts to decline. This is the moment many people expect fat burning to start. But here is the catch. If insulin does not fall low enough, glucagon cannot rise properly. And without glucagon, fat cells do not receive a clear signal to release stored energy. The body stays stuck in a gray zone. Not fed, but not free to burn fat either. This is where stress hormones enter the picture. When the brain senses energy uncertainty, cortisol rises. Cortisol's job is to keep you alive, not lean. It increases blood sugar, indirectly raising insulin again. This is why some people feel wired, restless, or unusually hungry while fasting. The body is not burning fat. It is defending stability. Now look at belly fat specifically. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It reacts quickly to insulin and stress hormones. It is designed to protect vital organs during times of perceived threat. That makes it stubborn, but also very responsive once the right conditions are met. Only when insulin stays low long enough, repeatedly, does visceral fat begin to release stored fat acids. Not dramatically, quietly, often at night. This is why fasting success is not about a single perfect day. It is about consistency of hormonal signals. If insulin spikes every evening, even slightly, the body never fully trusts the fasting window. Fat burning remains blocked, not because fasting failed, but because the internal message was unclear. This sets the stage for the 5 mistakes that sabotage fat loss while fasting appears correct. Each of them interferes with insulin, liver recovery, or stress signaling in subtle but powerful ways. Once you recognize them, belly fat stops being mysterious. It becomes predictable. Mistake 1. Your last meal silently spikes insulin longer than you think. You may stop eating early, but the composition of your last meal matters more than the clock. A dinner high in refined carbohydrates, hidden sugars, or alcohol keeps insulin elevated for hours, sometimes deep into the night. From the body's perspective, fasting has not started. The liver is still busy. Fat cells remain locked. This is why 2 people can fast the same number of hours and see completely different results. One sends a clean hormonal signal, the other does not. Mistake 2. You create stress instead of safety. Hunger alone does not block fat burning. Stress does. If fasting is combined with poor sleep, intense evening workouts, constant mental pressure, or caffeine late in the day, cortisol rises. Cortisol raises blood sugar. Blood sugar raises insulin. Now the body feels threatened, not deprived. And threatened bodies do not burn fat. They protect it. This is especially relevant after 40, when stress sensitivity increases and recovery slows. Mistake 3. You unknowingly consume invisible calories. Many people break the fast without realizing it. Sweetened tea, milk in coffee, supplements with fillers, just a small bite. Even tiny insulin responses, repeated daily, teach the body that fasting is unreliable. Visceral fat responds by staying defensive. Fat loss requires clarity, not perfection. But clarity means the body must clearly recognize fasting. Mistake 4. You compensate by overeating earlier. Skipping dinner often leads to eating more during the day, especially carbohydrates. Large lunches, frequent snacks, or constant grazing keep insulin elevated throughout the feeding window. By evening, insulin never drops low enough to unlock fat. The problem is not calories, it is insulin exposure time. When insulin remains high most of the day, fasting hours become damage control, not fat burning time. Mistake 5. You expect immediate visible results. This is the most dangerous mistake. During the first days of fasting, the body is adapting. Insulin sensitivity is recalibrating. The liver is relearning how to manage energy. Visceral fat is testing whether this change is permanent. The belly does not shrink immediately, but internally the groundwork is being laid. Quitting too early interrupts this process. Consistency, not intensity, is what convinces the body to let go of stored fat. These 5 mistakes are subtle but powerful. They explain why fasting often feels correct, yet produces no visible change. The good news is that each mistake can be corrected without extreme measures. And once corrected, fasting stops feeling like resistance and starts working with your biology. Next, you need to understand who should approach fasting cautiously and what realistic expectations actually look like. Fasting is a powerful tool, but it is not universal. Some bodies need a slower, more cautious approach. If you have type 1 diabetes, are taking insulin or blood sugar lowering medication, or have a history of eating disorders, Fasting without medical supervision can be risky. The same applies during pregnancy or periods of severe physical or psychological stress. Another common fear is muscle loss. Here is the reality. Muscle loss does not come from fasting itself. It comes from chronically high stress, insufficient protein during eating windows, and poor sleep. When fasting is done calmly, with adequate nutrition and recovery, the body prioritizes fat, not muscle. A frequent question is timing. How long until results appear? For most people, visible belly changes take 1 to 3 weeks. Internal improvements in insulin sensitivity often start earlier, but they are not immediately visible in the mirror. Should you train while fasting? Light movement and walking help. Intense late-evening workouts often backfire by raising cortisol. Fasting works best when it feels sustainable, not heroic. If fasting feels like a constant battle, the problem is not your discipline. It is usually a biological signal that has been misunderstood. Belly fat does not respond to punishment. It responds to consistency, clarity, and safety. Once insulin is given enough quiet time, once the liver is allowed to recover, and once stress is lowered instead of amplified, the body no longer needs to hold on to excess fat. Health is not built through extremes. It is built through understanding. If this video helped you see fasting differently, share your experience in the comments. Have you tried fasting and felt stuck? Or did one small adjustment change everything? Subscribe if you want more science-based explanations without hype. And in the next video, you will learn why a healthy breakfast can undo all the benefits of skipping dinner. Your body is not broken. It has just been waiting for the right signal.